welcome to Musings of a Middle-Aged Witch. I'm Sishen, and this is my very first upload to YouTube. I have no idea what I'm doing, so never stopped me before, but bear with me while I learn all the ins and outs. I've been browsing a lot on YouTube, learning all the things that people are talking about and ranting about. One of the things that I noticed is that a lot of people, especially the young folks, have this big misconception about what the reaction is going to be from non-pagans about their being pagan or Wiccan. Now, I've been Wiccan for 20 years, and I've been pagan since about 83. So I've had a lot of time to garner reactions from people because I've chosen to be very public. I'm public at work, I'm public at my children's school, one of whom is now an adult, pretty much everywhere. And I've found in the 20 years that I've been public, I have only had 3 purely what I would consider a negative reaction to the whole idea. Most people are just polite about it. They don't really care one way or the other. It's polite interest, they ask a couple questions and they move on. And what I've discovered from thinking about this in hindsight is that public perception depends a whole lot on your public presentation and your attitude. What I mean by this is that I've seen an awful lot of pagans and Wiccans go in with the idea that they're already going to have to defend themselves. The people are going to judge them negatively and they need to be ready for it. And more often than not, people are, like I said before, just polite. They want a basic summary. But I see far too many people go and give them a 3-hour thesis on what they believe and what they don't believe and who they're not. Not enough about who they are. Now, generally people really are friendly. And considering I've seen what happened 20 years ago versus today, we are so much better off than we used to be. And I really think the more we act as social equals, as religious equals, then people take us as that. I go in with the idea that I'm not going to have to defend myself, and I go in with the idea that, you know, most people really are quite happy to live and let live. And like I said, I've only had about 3 negative responses in 20 years, and that's going over the time frame where it really wasn't as good to be open as it is now. I'm going to give you a brief example of what I'm talking about. At work, I used to go to Bible study because I enjoy religious studies. And one day, the members were talking about the chick tracts and other pamphlets that they like to give out to people, and saying how wonderful they were and how much they taught people and to understand different things. I didn't say anything at the time, but I emailed the Bible study leader later and said, you know what? I wonder if you understand how these tracts look like to people outside of the Christian community. And he said, well, what do you mean? Let's go to lunch and we'll talk about it. So we went to lunch and we must have talked for a good 2 hours. Basically what I told him is these tracts look to outside the Christian community. What we use them for in the pagan community is that they're fun at parties. A lot of these things have so much misinformation and mishistory. You're all looking like fools. And you don't understand because you're not coming from that perspective. But you ever looked at it from the pagan perspective? How does it look like to us? And we talked for a long time about that, and he asked about my beliefs and such. And at the end of it, he looked at me and said, you know what? We really don't think that differently, do we? And I said, no, we don't. But most people don't want to look at the other person's point of view. They don't want to walk in somebody else's shoes. That not only goes for the pagan and non-pagan community against each other, but it also goes for the pagan community itself. We have a lot of little internal things going on because we don't want to look at each other's point of view. So, we not only have to look at our presentation to the non-pagan community, we also have to make sure that we understand each other within the pagan community. I just wanted to give that example. To summarize this whole thing, I'm coming from my own personal experience. I know there's a lot of you out there that still have run into problems with family and with work and with the general public, and definitely you need to be aware and educated on what you believe So you can be ready for that occasional person that's going to stick poke or have a negative response. But as a general rule, what's worked for me is simply going out into the world and going, I am who I am, and I'm happy about it. And if you're happy about it, that's all right. And shrug off the people who try to get an emotional response out of you, because they're trying to do just like they did in the schoolyard. The person who gives the emotional response is the person that's going to get picked on the most often. So if you go in with the attitude of, I'm okay, and I accept who I am, and I expect other people to treat me with the respect that I deserve, then 99% of the time you're going to get exactly what you want. So, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, please post them, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.